Good morning, everybody. It is March 27th, 8:25 a.m. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Market's gapping up right now. Straight off the news that First Citizens purchasing Silicon Valley Bank. That's doing a lot to uplift the financial sector. So that's what's going on right now. Um, let's look at the watch list here. See what we got going here. A 10-year yield is up 2.72%. Let's see here. We got crude is up 1.95%. The Russell, no surprise here, up 1.27%. All the regional banks in that index. Dow up 0.68. ES up 0.68 as well. The Nasdaq, because it does not have financials, is for once weaker because it doesn't have that extra oomph from the financial sector. Bitcoin's flat. Dollar is basically flat. You're getting some selling in silver, selling in the bonds, hence the TNX rising. Gold's getting hit pretty hard, down 1.33%. The VIX is down to 21.43, is down 1.43%. Let's look at some stocks. I basically like the day trade. Let's look at them together. Tesla, I saw there's some like lawsuit going on with a mishandling of an employee. That does not seem to be a factor right now. It's up 1.7%. Pre-market, Goldman Sachs financials up 1.53. Followed by Amazon up 0.79. Let's go to any laggards. Is there a laggard to speak of, really? Microsoft, nah, not really. Apple is only down slightly, so not really a laggard. All right, let's move on to some top sector stocks here. No surprise here at the top of the list, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, and then Roblox, communication sector, 1.31, followed by Exxon. Well, no surprise here, right? Oil, 1.16. Is there a laggard? Yes, there is. Only really one. Cat got downgraded, so that's why that is getting sold. Let's look at the sectors. We're probably not going to have any surprises here. Financials leading the pack, followed by energy, followed by discretionary, which is Tesla, and then semiconductors. I wouldn't call that a laggard because it's up. All right. Let's look at this week's news that we have coming. Let me just get that up for you guys. Just give me one sec while I pull that up. All right, so what do we have going on this week? So today, not much. Tomorrow, let's see, Fed bar testimony we have tomorrow at 10 a.m. Retail inventories, auto, then let's see, Fed bar again. Wednesday we got pending home sales, we got crude inventories. Thursday you have GDP, so that should be pretty noteworthy, and initial jobless claims, and then you have Yellen speaking. Okay, but Friday you have core PCE. That's the Fed's favorite inflation tool. You got Chicago PMI, Michigan consumer expectations, consumer sentiment. Then you have some Fed speak. So that's what we have for the week. I mean, the biggest news is what I already covered about First Citizens Bank. So we can get right into the daily charts here. Alrighty. So quick chart of the SPY. We're just in a web. We're in a range. We're calling for a big move. We're hovering about that big level. All right. I talk about the 4026 level in the ES. Well, obviously the SPY is going to have another level as well. We'll bring that up in a second. Anchor VWAPs are becoming very narrow. The white is the FOMC, the latest FOMC high. The yellow is the low and put in October, and this purple is the all-time high. So they're kind of all converging. Hence, we're just in the middle of this web of big moving averages, VWAPs. The market needs to get more information. I mean, it really does. That's what it's really coming down to. Um, we basically we're in this little range right now. So if we look at, you know, actually not that. I don't want to look at that. But you can see the balance here. This is just the SPY weekly profiles. You can see we're just, 398 basically is the most traded price of the last month in the SPY. Okay. But if I add, let's add I can put that here. Let's add a profile just to see it in the SPY. All right, so you can see here, let's just call it around here, 395 is the most traded price of the last year to date. A year ago back. Look at the market. Look at that. Look at that bell curve for the whole year. All right, look at that. That's why this is a very pivotal moment for the market. Okay, it's just needs to make a decision here, but when it does, it's going to break big. So when that happens, I don't know. Okay, let's look at. I'm going to look at the black and white markets just so we can see more clearly moving averages and stuff like that. Okay, so this fib we got on the SPY from this high down to this low. We've managed to only getting after this low to poke its head above 50%, but we're in this web of moving averages. We got the 200-day here, the 100-day, the 9 EMA, the 20, the 50. We're just in balance. All right, market hasn't really picked a direction yet. We are in a downtrend right now, so you can't dispute that. So, but however, we're just in this range. So let's look at the Qs. All right, Qs definitely have a different picture, right? This 314 level though has been resistant. Okay, so we came up here in what was that? February 2nd. Tried to come again. That's when we made a move down. Then made almost like a double bottom. Came right back up to it. Found sellers. Came right back up to it. Found sellers. Where are we now? We're at 311. So we're about like right here. We're almost at the highs of Friday, right? And we have this little range in the NASDAQ happening here, right? With a support of 306.95. So right here, it's kind of in support. Tried to break it here, couldn't. Held it, right? So that's kind of what we're doing in the NASDAQ. So, and the NASDAQ's different, right? It's above all the moving averages. So it's just a different world for the NASDAQ. It's just really just, poof. If it breaks 314, you're going to get a little run. You're going to get a little run. Where can we go? Well, you got 320 right here. This little range right here, this double top. Really, you got a gap here. Where do we go? I'm not really sure, but that's probably 320 could be a good destination, right? All right, let's look at the Dow. So the Dow obviously is weaker. We got this from this high to this low. What have we done since this low? We managed to break this 38.2% Fibonacci, but that's the best we've got. Financial sector's got to be helping this. So right now we're at 324. So we're above this level. We're around here. 200-day moving average right now. And we're in a downtrend, right? Let's see what the Dow can do, right? Key level here is 326.57. So keep an eye on that. Now the Russell's been the weakest, right? But since these regional banks popping in, and the Russell's has been weak, right? It had the support, broke it, made a new low on Friday, but it recovered, right? And where are we at now? 173. So we're in here right now. And notice behind all the below all the moving averages. Next level to test really is to see what it could do with this 176.67 level. That's really the next important level to really watch in the Russell. So, and then we go to our triple-headed monster here. Let's go to 10-year yield. 10-year yield, look, broke this support, right? Which I was like, huh, pretty interesting that it broke this support. But then look, we're coming right back right now. So the bond market, starting to yield starting to rise again. So let's see what that. Let's see. We got to really see and watch what the bond market has a smart money what it's going to do. We got the VIX, big candles here, right? Big ranges, and now it's calmed down a little bit. We're at 21.48 right now. So this 2031 support level. Have to see how that interacts. Right? We have wicks up here. If we get over 24, we should get some more volatility. But it's today's a news heavy news data light day today. So it's a Monday. So we have to see what this market wants to do. And finally, let's look at the dollar. Dollar's having a bunch of dojis. Look at that, doji, and that's a hammer, and then we got a doji, and then wow, it's just the dollar is pretty nuts, but just in a little range. We went down all the way to 101 actually here, and now today we're at 103. So I have to really see here this dollar here, because it was in a range, popped down, came up in a range, and then popped down. Then we're in a range again to see if we can go higher or lower here to really see what we're going to do with the dollar. Okay, let's get into our volume profile, market profile, my favorite tool to look at what the structure of the market is. Give me 1 second while I bring that up. All right, let's look at the ES, right? Let me get my marker tool. All right, so quickly looking at the composite profile. All right, we got this. You could tell the value area, that's the highlighted lighter blue. That's from here and here. That's where we've been trading 70% of the time. All right, we're above that right now, but no surprise, whoever watches me, right, most traded price. So this level 4026, 4025, the 4030 area has just been a beast. All right, so it's the most traded price of the rolling year, most traded price of this month, of the last 30 days, the rolling month. Okay, this level and price is right here. It's a magnet. That's why it's on my chart. It is a magnet. Okay, the best shot was here. We pushed up. That was FOMC though, right? So that's going to get some, that's going to blast through some technicals. But then this level was resistance again. Couldn't get above it, couldn't hold above it. Now we're back. So this is really what it's going to tell me what I'm going to do today. Okay, so hold above it. I want to go long. Come above it, reject, go back below it. I want to be short. That's about as easy as it gets for today, because that's just such a key level. Okay, now we're going to look at the levels, right? Let's look at what we did on Friday. So Friday's high closed at the highs here. That's the high, 4005. That's the low down here. Okay, we're gapping higher. Price is here. Okay, so we got an overnight high here, 4033. Overnight low, 3997. Okay, so right off the bat we got a gap, but we have a gap to a very big level. Okay, it's the level I keep talking about. So the market has to prove to me, right? This is the best part about using these levels, right? Because now it gives me a bias. The market will give me my bias. I don't have a bias. So you hold above here. All right, we're probably going to move higher. Hold below it, probably going to move lower. you know. So you can look at it this way too. Hold above here, we probably make a move higher in the market, right? We hold below it, it doesn't really mean we're going to go lower and break out lower. It just means we might need more information and it might just balance here. Okay. So now, now if anybody is used to watching my streams, which I know there's a return viewers, there's a couple of return viewers consistently, is when we have a gap like this, okay, you want to measure the strength by what we do. All right, what's the market do when we open? So these are the gap rules. All right, so really quickly, most bullish, gap and go. Right, second most bullish, pull back a little bit, fail to fill the gap, and then we go. Right, third most bullish, we come down here, we fill the gap, and then we go. Okay, so those are the bullish. Those would show me, okay, right? I don't know if I'd be crazy about buying here because of this level here, right? For me, we'll go over the scenarios that I would like to be long, okay? But that's what I have to look at, okay? That's what I have to look at. Now, of course, you go the other way. You can go the other way. So the bearish sign would be you fill the gap, and then we start moving back into Friday's range. That tells you the buyers are not strong, and we have to see what goes on from there. That just means that the buyers aren't strong. We probably are going to work our way back to maybe the most traded price of the week. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to judge the market on. Gaps are super hard to trade. Large ones, this is a decent one, right? Gaps over 10 points, they tend to be harder to read. It's real weird off the open, so I like to let the market settle a little bit. All right, so it's, for me right now, very easy today at what I want to, what I think can happen. All right, and what I'm going to look for. So let's look at it. Let's look at our bearish. We'll look at the bearish scenario first. Okay, so for me, if we gap, now the important part here is it's a little trickier because of the gap and you got the gap failure. However, if we did do something like this, pushed up, rejected, came through this big level, okay, and you have to see why I'm saying this is look at the profile for the overnight, okay. Most traded prices here of the overnight, and you're building out nice volume up here. All right, so everybody's got a lot of longs here right now, all up in here. You got support right here, and you got nice volume. Okay, so if you get a little, now that I said that, let's look at this. Let's highlight that a different color. So now that we know this, right, this is the beauty of the volume profile. You know the volume. Here's the open, right? So all this volume is pretty much long. Right? We got a lot of volume here. It's not thin, it's building out volume. Okay, so if we're going to go for our bearish play, what you want to see is a little push up and then a rejection through this big level. And then if we hold it and you hold it and you see some weakness, you're going to make these longs nervous. You short, you go for that gap fill. Now the 200-day moving average is here, so be careful of that. But if you get some farther movement, I would say you can go down to monthly VWAP or the most traded price of the week. Okay, because you're just gonna trap these longs, thinking the market's going higher. Okay, that's really what I would like to see, because you play off this big level, okay, and you play off the longs from the overnight. Okay, also the psychology if you were, now this is another part of the psychology of the trade, right? So if you were long on Friday in any stock, it doesn't matter, right? You closed at the highs. Okay, so if you're long, let's say any equity, and you close at the highs, you're feeling pretty good, and you're feeling pretty good that the market's gapping up, right? But if you come up, reject with volume, what do you think people who are long on Friday are going to want to do? They're going to want to liquidate their position. They want to take profits. So that would fuel this move. And then we'd probably balance, right? So that's that. Let's look at the long side, right? So now that being said, let's go with the long side. So we're gapping up. So what do we need to see if we're going to be long, right? So the thing, because this big level's here, I need to see a gap and go, right? I'm not going to go after that gap and go, right? I can see us gapping and going, hitting the 50-day moving averages right here, and then coming back. Now what you want to see is it to hold this big level. So even if you come down, make a higher low, coiling up, and you see the market firm up, there's not a lot of weakness, then you want to go long, target the 50-day moving average. Okay? Then your next target would be the recent highs of 40.74. That's really what I'm looking at off this level. Okay? So, what I've been liking to do as of late, which has been giving me success, is based on this, right, on this level, I will then take strong stocks, and instead of using the futures, I'll use the strongest relative stock, and I'll make that trade off that. Like right now, for instance, Goldman Sachs, Tesla. That doesn't mean that I'm just giving you an example. Right now, they're stronger relatively to other stocks right now. Off the open, though, I analyze that as well. Which the strongest stock off the open, and I'll like to get the strongest stock and off the open. If they're together, that's even better. Then you go long, or then conversely, you do the weak stocks, and if you can't, the market does this and this, then I'm gonna look at the weak stocks, relatively weak stocks in the market, and look to short those, and then I'll ride it, because what I found, obviously S&P is made up of multiple sectors. Each sector could be doing something differently, right? So futures sometimes, for me, what I've seen is you get a lot of like ticks or volatility because all these sectors are pulling the S&P 500, right? Instead, if you just go for the weakest relative stock, you only got to worry about that stock. I don't have to worry about if I'm shorting Tesla, what financials is doing. So just something I've been doing and finding success with. All right, so that's the ES, right? Let's move over to the NASDAQ, which obviously has a different picture, right? You got to treat it differently. All right, let's look at that. A beautiful, beautiful profile on a composite profile. Let's just make this bigger because we can today. All right. So we have most traded price of the week and a Friday down here. Okay, that's the first thing we're going to talk about. Let's get the yellow out, better easier to see it. All right, so down here about 128. That is the level that we're hanging above. Okay, so that makes me automatically on the the bullish bias for the Nasdaq. Okay, now that we have a completed profile up here, you get a nice bell curve. That just tells you the market's in balance. But we're on the upper end of value, right? So here's the value area high of the the rolling week composite. This is 70% of the trades happened in this area. We're right at the top of this value area high. Okay, and it's a small gap, so it's different, right, than the ES. It's a very small gap. So price is right here with that little red dot. We're at 129.28, and then so we got the high of Friday, the low of Friday. Okay, we have the high from the overnight high and the overnight low. So we have a small gap here. Okay, so there's a demand zone here. Okay, so in the Nasdaq, I can already tell and look up this plan what I'd like to see, and it's perfect now, of what the plan would be. Now we have the big level, the 40.26 level in the ES, right? That's our decision line. That's what we're going to make decisions off of. If we hold above it or below it, right? Or if we reject swiftly above it, go below it, the plan. Well, our plan in the Nasdaq is very similar, right? The prices are not in sync right now, just because of the financial sector, right? They're just not in sync. But we have to use these levels. Okay, so If they can get in sync today, perfect. That's even better. So here's the here's the plan. All right. So we do have a gap. It's little though. It's a little gap. Okay. It's fairly balanced. The overnight's balanced. Okay. So it isn't giving me a lot of information right now to say, ooh, right? We're not around the big level like the ES. We're not around the level like that. There is supply here. Okay, there is supply zone here. That's the overhead supply we have to deal with. All right, so what I'd like to see, okay, so the combo, we already know about the 40-26, 40-30 level in the ES. If the ES can hold that level, okay, and as long as the NASDAQ can hold above this level, most traded price of the week, okay, that's bullish. Okay, we're both in a bullish bias for right now, not a macro overall market like for now, right? They're holding above their most traded prices of the week. Okay, you got that monster level to deal with in the ES, so that's going to be a bear. All right. So what I'd like to see is, again, this is a small gap, so I don't put as much weight into this gap. However, let's look at the long side, because I ain't gonna, you'd have to come up here. Okay, we'll talk about it. All right, let's talk about the long. All right, first. Now, what do we need to happen? ES above the 40-26 level, holding above it. All right, even if the Nasdaq gets a little bit of weakness, it's not going to scare me as long as we hold above here, because there's a demand zone here too. So all I'd like to see is, let's say if we even came down, right? And the ES, let's say, held up, because remember, this doesn't have financials. Let's say this came down here and we held it. And we go into, I'm going to look to go long as long as the ES is holding above 40-30, 40-26 as well. Here's a nice long, because what's going to happen, right? You're going to have shorts here that push this price down, and then you're going to take them out. They're going to think that we're going down. People who don't know these levels, who don't mark them on their charts, right, are going to think, oh, we're going lower, and then we hold this level in this demand zone, and if we shoot out of it, you want to go long. Okay, you want to go long. Look for Friday's high, look for the overnight high in this supply zone as your next target. Okay, now we have a different plan for the shorts in this one, because we don't have that monster level, okay, in the Nasdaq. Now here's the short scenario for the Nasdaq. Now what do we need in the ES? We need to hold below 40-30 area, the 40-26 area. We don't want to see ES holding above that. We want to see it holding below it. So if we're holding below it and the Nasdaq just happens to push up into this supply zone, and it's having problems in here, and the ES is holding below, and you start to get weakness, well, then you're gonna like to go short here. Okay, where you're gonna target? You're gonna fill the gap right here, target here. All right, and then you're gonna see if you can hold, and see if you get, and then you would take your next profit at the most traded price. If we get super weak, you hold an additional runner, and you see if we can go back to Friday's low, and there's single prints down here. That's what can happen. Okay, now if you're conservative short, right, this is like probably you're facing some strength into this supply zone. If you want to fade it, if you want to be conservative, you wait for this to happen. You wait for price to hold under this level, just like the ES I told you about. If it holds under this, making lower highs, right, lower lows, then you short here, target the lows and these single prints, right, and you might want to ultimately get down to this demand zone down here. So this is what I'm looking at. Okay, hope that all makes sense, right? And you can see, going back to the chart I like showing, just to give you a perspective on this monster level here. I mean, just most traded price of this year, the rolling year, right? Price is right here. We're gonna do this. I don't know when, or we're gonna do this, and I don't know when, but it's gonna happen. I mean, look at this spike in this profile. This volume. It's just a lot of people are transacting at that price. I mean, it's just indisputable from the volume profile. Okay, indisputable. Nasdaq, we're over that price, right? Because financials are not part of the Nasdaq, so Nasdaq's price is here. The monster level in Nasdaq is the 122.21 level, but it's holding above it. So that's just the two different worlds are in right now. Okay. Let's take a look at crude real quick. Here's our composite profile. Right. We're right above the most traded price of the week right now. It's kind of making a little bit of a move. Got some single prints here. Can you actually open this up a little bit? Okay. So we got some singles. Just crude just made a move. See, when you break out of these areas, you get a little move because there's so many people transacted at this price. All right, but you got supply zone up ahead. It's kind of messy, crude right now. I'm trying to see exactly what I'd like to look at in the crude right now. What I would analyze is there is a weak low here. So we have the most traded price of Friday and its overnight lows. So these are weak. Okay, this is weak because you got longs here, and we're pretty much probably about 85% net long but have a large gap. All right, so the one thing I would maybe possibly look at is see, I'll use this level again, is if price, a couple things here, if price hits the supply, but really if we come back and reverse through this level, then these longs are gonna feel some pain, and if you start making lower highs, you can go right back, target this level, and then if this breaks, that's the weak low, you go to this demand zone. That's what I would look for to short in crude. But it's very correlated to the market right now, and it's just crude is not an easy read of late. I usually love looking at crude because it's just not easy as of late. That's about it for me today. So we got our plans. Hope everybody understood them, right? The only thing I could give you, let me just hit you with this. We can just look at the hourly chart really quickly, just to give you a candlestick of that level. That level is such a pivot in the market, the ES, right? So here's that 40.26 level. This is our monster level in the ES, right? Most traded price of, I believe it's the most traded price of this year, the rolling year, the month. I mean, it's nuts, all right? But you can just see the pivot. It's becoming a pivot. Look, it was support here, right? Resistance here, resistance here, resistance here. It's just nuts. But if we clear this, hold it and clear, you can see, the shorts that are here, you're gonna move to the least of the 50-day moving average. Okay, but like I said, look at this exuberance right here, the buying, right? So that's why you have to look at it, when you get this with no pullbacks really, right? And now look, we're getting some weakness now on this level. That's why this level is it's a magnet. It's really a magnet. Like, look, we come above it, we come down, we come down, we FOMC, come through it, look, come up to it, reject it, go all the way down here, come all the way back to the level, resistance, 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 break above it, get some weakness, right? And then look, we're here. I mean, that's just crazy. So it's a big level. I guess I don't have to say it any more times, right? I could scream it from the rooftops by now. But just wanted to show you that in a candlestick chart. I know sometimes market profile can look like crazy to some people, so um, give me a comment, like, or subscribe, share if you haven't already. Right? I'm gonna try keep doing videos, shorts, and updates. Right? Um, Stay green, stay patient. Right? We got our levels. We have our levels to look at. Right? Those are the levels. Don't make it too hard. Then I'm just gonna sit and wait till that those levels get reacted to. All right, and then you go ahead. Whatever your plan is. All right. So wish you luck. Update if I can, and if not, I'll see everyone tomorrow.